We have evidence that they were in the basement.
Well,
she didn't respond.
We learned through the federal investigation, Higgins became angry, demanded that Proctor come back.
Proctor! Where is Proctor?
And he read him the Riot Act, which shows a little bit about Higgins' personality.
Were these business texts?
you're hot. No, these were friendly communications. You're hot, smart, witty. Communication between acquaintances. You don't want to stay here?
Defendant said, come over my house.
Or people that know each other. Do you like me? I think you're hot. Always have thought that. Just have not revealed my thoughts. And I don't want to put a label on it. They were communication between acquaintances. Come over to my house. Coming to your house would have been bad for the both of us. For starters, you wouldn't have wanted me to leave. Or people that know each other. Why? Because you wouldn't have made me stay. Locked me in your room.
Well, why is there a third-party culprit defense? Why is it relevant? We start, Your Honor, with the fact that our forensic medical examiner has already submitted a sworn affidavit to this court that John O'Keefe's injuries are consistent with having been in a fight and are not consistent with having been hit by a car.
This is our favorite paisan, David Yannetti, at a pre-hearing conference scheduled before trial number 1, for which they're trying to include or exclude evidence. Let's keep watching.
If John O'Keefe was not hit by a car, that means that Karen Reed did not kill him. And we know that John O'Keefe did not die of natural causes. This was not a heart attack or a stroke. He was mortally injured. It is not our job to solve this case for the prosecution.
While that is true, we all have come to learn that it's our job to solve any crimes that take place within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Let's keep watching.
It is not our job to name a specific third-party culprit.
Brian Higgins?
We do not have to prove that Brian Albert or Colin Albert or Brian Higgins or some combination of them intended to kill John O'Keefe. We don't have to prove that any of them attacked John O'Keefe such that he eventually died. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they didn't.
If the court allows a third-party culprit defense, meaning someone else killed John O'Keefe,
Brian Higgins?
Other than the defendant, it will be up to the prosecution to show that they didn't do it.
But the fact of the matter is, there is evidence that all three of them had a motive, had the opportunity and the means to attack John O'Keefe. The specific evidence we have with regard to motive, opportunity, and means with regard to the three Commonwealth witnesses that I've named, starting with Brian Higgins.
Brian Higgins?
He was present at 34 Fairview Road. He was close friends with the homeowner, Brian Albert.
Yes.
He had a prior romantic interest in Karen Reed.
Coming to your house would have been bad for the both of us. For starters, you wouldn't have wanted me to leave.
He did not expect Karen and John O'Keefe to be at the Waterfall, that bar, on January 28th. Karen Reed did not greet Higgins, despite the fact that they had previously exchanged flirtatious texts.
One of our guys got shot in the head. You guys should come.
And that she had been at his apartment one evening, although there was nothing that took place between them any more than a peck of a kiss.
The defendant kissed me, not like a friend.
And what was your reaction to that?
At the Waterfall, Higgins does not engage with John O'Keefe.
This is the Waterfall video before Karen and John arrived. If you look here, you can see big old Brian Higgins, old Higgy Bear, drinking his Jameson and ginger. And this video is very important to establish a baseline activity level of Higgy Bear. He's not humping Brian Albert. He's not jumping up and down. He's not play fighting. That's all because Karen Reed is not there. And contrary to what Yannetti just represented to the court, Brian Higgins and John O'Keefe clearly embraced at the bar.
He does not say goodbye to John O'Keefe and Karen.
That representation is true. At 11:57 and 27 seconds, Higgy Bear starts to make his way towards the exit. If you look closely, he looks back at Karen and potentially at John, but I don't see any type of event that would spark Higgy Bear erupting and then threatening John just a few moments later. Let's watch. There's Higgy Bear turning very quickly back to the table in the direction of John O'Keefe and Karen. Let's watch Higgy Bear and see if anything happens that would have sparked him to start threatening John O'Keefe. there is a possibility that Chris Albert grabbed Higgy Bear's arm not in an aggressive manner, but more in a playful manner to figure out where they were going. Behind Chris's back, you can see Higgy Bear motioning to John O'Keefe. That's the first time he starts to threaten him. It very well could be that Chris Albert pulling that shirt had nothing to do with Brian Higgins threatening John O'Keefe, but here it is clear he doesn't stop telling him to come outside the fight.
When he leaves, but before he leaves, he texts Karen, well?
Well? She didn't respond.
And that is all Yannetti represented to the court with regard to the waterfall video. This is the biggest mistake they made in trial number 1, and it almost cost Karen her freedom.
We know that there was a preservation order from this court to preserve his cell phone, and that Trooper Proctor gave an order to serve on Brian Higgins, and he left it at the front desk of the Canton Police Station for him, and that Higgins, we learned through the federal investigation, Higgins became angry, demanded that Proctor come back.
Proctor! Where is Proctor?
And he essentially upbraided him and read him the Riot Act, which shows a little bit about Higgins' personality.
It certainly does. And when we looked at Brian Higgins, we looked at previous behavior for which he was very thin-skinned. Obviously, he was very paranoid after killing John O'Keefe about other people knowing. When people are very insecure, they care so much about what other people think of them. And of course, if Proctor comes to the police station with a preservation order and then just leaves it for anybody to see, someone who is thin-skinned and can fly off the handle like Brian Higgins is going to react a certain way, and apparently the FBI detected that he did.
At the end of the night, everyone discussed going back to 34 Fairview, and when he gets back to 34 Fairview, he texts not Karen, he texts John O'Keefe.
Yes, I said, are you coming here? Followed by 3 question marks.
At 24 minutes and 59 seconds, the device is unlocked using Face ID, and the message, you coming here.
Yes, I said, are you coming here? Followed by 3 question marks.
Message, you coming here, is read at 25 minutes and 8 seconds. At 25 minutes and 9 seconds after midnight, the device is locked.
That right there is the smoking gun, tying Brian Higgins perfectly to this murder. However, in trial number 1, for some reason, Karen Reed's attorneys failed to make this very serious connection. And then, when Brian Higgins texts, you coming here, followed by 3 question marks, we know that it was read by John O'Keefe. At 12:25 and 9 seconds, we are certain that John is alive, and he read that threatening text message from Brian Higgins, then locked his phone.
He testified before the federal grand jury that he had no knowledge that they had been invited to 34 Fairview. That is contradicted by this text message. And the inference is that he was coaxing John to come to that house. We're not saying this gives him a motive to kill John, but we don't have to show that. Any motive to feel hostility or animosity towards John O'Keefe goes to his motive. And Your Honor, when Brian Higgins and Brian Albert are in that house, they're the only 2 people who are unaccounted for when the rest of the group was in the kitchen.
But when you were asked where your husband and Brian Higgins were positioned at the table, you weren't able to place them there.
Because I don't believe they ever sat at that table.
You told the jury that you were cleaning and you weren't sure where they went.
Well, initially when I first came in the house and I was doing my thing, I don't remember exactly where.
You have no independent recollection as you sit here today where Mr. Higgins was when you looked out the window, correct?
No.
You told the grand jury that you don't recall seeing them at the table, but you don't recall where they went because you were kind of focused on cleaning, correct?
Right.
And there was one point at which you said that you joined them in family.
Yes.
Is that right? But while you were cleaning, you said, I don't really know what they were doing, but they weren't there, correct?
Yes.
So you recall your husband and Brian Higgins left your view and went to some other place in the house that evening, correct?
It could have.
The only 2 that you recognized at this point in the night, not being sort of with everybody else, were Brian Albert and Brian Higgins.
You were asked specifically at the time that you looked out the window who was there, and you said, I'm not sure if Brian Higgins was there. Yeah. Isn't that correct?
Okay, if I said that, yes, because I was not sure. I'm still not sure that if he was there or not.
And that's critical because we're able to timestamp when this occurred. Remember, Julie Bagel's brother was pulling up in Ricky's Ford F-150 to pick her up. It's 12:25. John O'Keefe just read that threatening message from Higgy Bear. And more importantly, of the 10 potential people that could have killed John O'Keefe, only Brian Albert and Brian Higgins are not accounted for.
For that entirety of the time that you were there, did you go anywhere else within the home beyond what you've described as far as the kitchen and the living room?
No.
Did you go upstairs at any time?
No.
Did you go downstairs in any sort of basement area at any time?
No.
And they claimed that they were looking at photographs together.
Did you go upstairs at any time?
No.
We had put some plaques and some stuff in his room upstairs, and I thought he would want to see the photos, so I had him look at them.
Did you go upstairs at any time?
No.
His room upstairs, had him look at them.
You said specifically, quote, "I've never been upstairs." Is that
Yes.
right?
At one point, I may have shown Brian Higgins some photos that were in my son's room that were upstairs.
Quote, "I've never been upstairs." Is that
Yes.
right?
And what kind of photos are we talking about?
One of my son Jack, who's one of the twins, was in the Marines.
The son who had recently been in the Marine Corps.
We had put some plaques and some stuff in his room upstairs. Plaques, his room upstairs.
You indicated that the photos that you saw were on the first floor living room area. Is that right?
I believe that's where they were, yes.
I said upstairs, Jack's room, pictures of him in the Marines, nothing else.
Brian Albert and Brian Higgins there's like a room right off of the kitchen, like a TV room, and they were in there. Nicole had put up some new pictures, or maybe the son and the Marines, they might have been looking at a picture. Vaguely have a faint memory of that.
And there's old Hen McCabe lying under oath, trying to stick to the script. But again, they're not following what I told them. Upstairs, Jack's room, pictures of him in the Marines. Got it?
I think there was another period of time where my dad might have been showing, or maybe my mom or my dad were showing Brian Higgins.
For the last time, it was just me, upstairs, Jack's room, pictures of him in the Marines.
Like family photos of one of my brothers who's in the Marines. So and that would have been in the family room area.
Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were in the, I guess you'd call it the TV room area, just standing and talking.
My husband and his friend Brian were in our family room, so I kind of went in there and was talking to them. We had some shelves on the wall that just had a bunch of pictures, old pictures from our wedding or when Brian was in the Marine.
Damn it, Nicole, not pictures of the wedding, not pictures of me in the Marines, not pictures of the family. It's upstairs, Jack's room, Jack's pictures in the Marines.
And so we would just kind of look at them, laughing, talking about them. Family room.
His son's room that were upstairs.
TV room.
The family room area.
The TV room.
I've never been upstairs. Is that
Yes.
right?
Plaques and some stuff in his room upstairs.
And we have evidence that they were in the basement. We believe that Brian Albert made a mistake before the state grand jury by testifying they went upstairs to look at photos. Brian Higgins says unequivocally that the only place the two went was into the living room to look at photos and military ribbons, whatever they were looking at. Brian Higgins did not know that Brian Albert had said they went upstairs. And he also testified he had never been upstairs at Brian Albert's house in his life. That means that if Brian Albert said they went upstairs, they're coming up from the basement.
When the House defendants met to set forth a timeline for which they were all going to stick to, not everyone was able to actually do it when they were under oath and under the pressure of being questioned. Because Karen's team failed to recognize the strong motive of Higgy Bear, coupled with him threatening John O'Keefe on video, we started to go down the wrong path, specifically with regard to Colin Albert and actually beating John in the basement. That never occurred. However, that's just the natural course of a murder investigation. We make a hypothesis and then we test it. Now Karen's current attorneys are no longer accusing Colin Albert of having any involvement, and they are not even claiming that anything took place in the basement. Either way, we are not going to stop pursuing this case until the real killer,
Brian Higgins,
is brought to justice.
I didn't always take them up on their offer, and I usually did the Irish exit, and I decided because of the weather and everything else, and it had been a long day.
It had been a long day.
It was a long day. We had been on the road. I just was looking to get home. It was a long day. Well, it was a long day. We both had the same long day.
A long day.
What did you mean by I want the real deal?
Like a relationship. The same thing everybody wants, a real relationship.
Like a romantic relationship, Mr. Higgins?
It's possible.
Right.
I kissed gay Jeff. The same thing everybody wants. A real relationship. It's possible.